Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. You're not telling me what I want to hear, so you're obviously lying or trying to hide something. The second story. Karen yelled about the lines being too long and ended up getting kicked out for harassing an employee. The third story. Police officer confronted annoying neighbor over parking in front of her house. The first story is, you're hiding something from me. Ma'am, this is a grocery store. I don't think I've ever posted this story publicly, but in my entire retail career, this is the first and only time I've personally witnessed someone being escorted out by the police. My account might not be the most entertaining, as I only witnessed bits and pieces of the encounter, and most of the information is secondhand. Plus, the situation was from months ago, so please bear with me if I get some of the details mixed up. It was a rainy autumn day, probably around the middle or end of September if I had to guess. It was after 10 p.m. for my time zone at a grocery store the size of your average Walmart, at our regional main competitor for Walmart. Think Publix, Meijer, etc. I was watching the self-checkout with one of my friends who I'll call Peach, when I overheard one of the night managers telling our service team overseer, the role title is different for different companies, so I don't want to accidentally dox myself, that we needed to get all the carts inside by the end of the night, or our store director would get upset. I volunteered to help and set out on my mission. Of course, as it was rainy and nighttime, I did quickly reach a point where I needed to step inside and dry off and warm up. It was then that the excitement truly began. I was watching the service team overseer, who I'll call Mario, as he was walking over to tell a specific customer something. I quickly asked Peach what was going on, and groaned internally when the story came out. Karen had brought in a credit card that our system hadn't recognized. It was her only method of payment, but the system kept indicating that the card wasn't accepted. She refused to accept this and decided that the card reader must be the problem, and she would like to enter her credit card number manually. Peach attempted to explain to her that we can only let people type in gift card, EBT, and store credit card numbers. There isn't even the option to type in any other kind of credit or debit card. Karen didn't like this and said she would call her credit card company to see if there was anything she could do. Peach shrugged and moved on to assist other customers, and when she went back to the self-checkout terminal, the woman had approached her again, which is what I walked into, to say that her credit card company said that she could in fact enter her card number manually, and we needed to let her enter it in. At this point, Peach called Mario over and told him what was going on, to which he confirmed that she could not in fact enter her number in manually. Karen insisted that they were lying to her. Mario attempted to explain how the system works, but she simply was not having it. She was convinced that they were lying to her. The night manager, who I'll call Luigi, saw what was going on and asked Mario what happened. Mario explained the situation to Luigi, who again informed the woman that we're sorry but we can't accommodate your request. The woman sees me and decides to approach me, and I inform her that they're correct, and we can't let people type in any old credit card, and there isn't even an option in our system. Not to mention those two, pointing to Mario and Luigi, have more authority than myself, so if they say we can't help her, we can't help her. She goes back to Mario and Luigi, and decides to insist she will not leave the store until they let her type her card in, and they'll have to call the cops if they want her to leave. Luigi, of course, declares that he feels that would be an unnecessary escalation, and she needs to leave as she's causing a disturbance. Karen is now insisting that the cops be called because we're hiding something if we won't let her type in her card. She also asks if we're refusing her service because she's transgender. I can't speak for all stores, but my specific store has accommodated multiple trans coworkers throughout their transitions, and nobody had mentioned anything about her gender throughout the interaction. Luigi again says, "Ma'am, you've repeatedly asked us to do something that is outside of our abilities. We're gonna have to ask you to please leave." After a few more minutes of arguing and Karen insisting she's being lied to, as well as making sure Peach will be okay without any backup, I decide that I should head back outside to help wrangle carts again. As I'm heading outside, Luigi is calling the cops as the situation is now outside of his control. As I'm bringing in a long line of carts, I see that the cops had arrived while I was outside, and I go back in to tell Mario that I had finished with the sections he told me to get, and return to my former position. I was supposed to be a cashier and self-checkout attendant. I find out that when the police had been briefed on the situation, the first thing they had asked the Karen is if she was really going to do this. She insisted we were lying. Nobody knew how her conversation with the cops went, but I heard her spewing off a loud, "Why are you taking their side? They're lying." I did have to focus on doing my job for a few minutes, after I shed my raincoat and fleece, but I managed to hear the police asking her if she's going to leave on her own or if they're going to have to drag her out, and I did get to witness them walking around. Usually if the police are here, it's over theft or assault, so this is certainly the most bizarre situation of calling law enforcement I've run into through my retail career. The second story is, but the lines are so long. I'm a front-end shift manager at a grocery store, the only one in town, which means we're a busy store. Yesterday, due to people being out sick, we were at a bare minimum of staff for the front end. I had 2 cashiers, 2 courtesy clerks, and myself for the front end, and just myself for customer service. Of course, being busy, both of my cashiers informed me that their registers need cash pulled. That meant I had to close the lane I was running, go to the cash office, get the money bags, come back, wait between customers for them to be able to open their drawers to pull cash, back to the office, run the money through the counter, input into the computer, do the double check, make the cash drop into the safe. Of course, the counter wanted to jam during the second count, and I had to take it apart to get the money out. During this, a lady, no, let's call her what she was, a cranky old bat, came to the service desk. I called out to her that I would be there as soon as I could. That wasn't good enough, and she kept slamming her hand down on the desk yelling hello. I told her 2 more times I would be there in a few minutes. Just as I was almost finished, another manager came in, but hadn't clocked in yet. She started slamming her hand down and yelled, "Hey, excuse me, are you going to help?" Other manager, "No ma'am, I'm not on the clock yet. I cannot help until I've clocked in, and I cannot clock in for another 20 minutes. Just a few seconds later, I was able to go see what the old bat was raising a fuss about. Me, "Yes ma'am, how can I help you?" Old bat, "You have lines." Me, "Yes, and I'm sorry, but we're doing our best." Old bat, "Long lines." Me, "Yes, but we're moving them along rather quickly." Old bat, "The lines are too long for what little I have." Me, internal thoughts equal, and if you had been in line for the last 10 minutes, you'd already be out the door. But no, you had to stand here and make a scene. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we're short-staffed and we're doing the best we can." Old bat, "But the lines are too long for what little I have." Me, again internal. You just said that. Again, I understand we have lines, but they're moving through quickly." Old bat, "But the lines are too long for what little I have. You need to open more lanes." Me, "Ma'am, I have 2 cashiers. That's all I have. There's no one else." Old bat, "Get someone else. There has to be more people in the store that can help." Me, "No, there isn't, or they would already be up here helping." Old bat, "You need to open more lanes." Me, "Ma'am, there's no one else. There's cashier A and cashier B." Old bat, "Put those 2 bagging on a lane." Me, "I don't have to explain to you, but they're not cashier trained and cannot run a register. Is there anything else I can help you with?" Old bat, "Open another lane." Me, "Ma'am, as soon as I'm done with the customers waiting behind you for service that I can provide here, I will open another lane out there to help with the lines. But I cannot at this time open another lane." Old bat, "But you have lines." Me, "There's nothing I can do to explain this further. No other lanes will be open until more staff comes in." Old bat, "So you're refusing to help me? I want the manager." Me, "Okay, I'm the manager right now. And yes, I'm refusing you service. You've stood here and complained about an issue that I cannot change for 10 minutes, after waiting for 10 minutes to do so. You could have went through the line twice in that time. The exit door is to your left beside the registers." Old bat, "I'm calling corporate." Me, "Please do. We might get some help in the store." She stomped off only to try to cut in line. She picked the wrong cashier to pull that with. She was promptly told that the line starts back there and ends here, and she wouldn't serve her in front of people that had been waiting. That set the old bat over the edge. She started yelling at the cashier. By then, the other manager was on the clock, and we escorted her from the building for harassment of staff. For those wondering why I didn't go ahead and check her out at the service desk, she had mostly weighed produce. No scales at customer service desk. Also, why the other manager didn't clock in when they arrived, knowing how short-handed we were. It was their day off. They had been out running errands and hadn't had anything to eat, so they brought food with them to eat before work. And the last story is, Karen doesn't like people parking in front of her house. So when I was around 6 years old, I lived with my family in a nice house in a small city in Poland. It was a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts, and pretty much all the neighbors knew each other. There was no sidewalks around the part of the street I lived at. Only one crappy sidewalk that started on the other side in front of my neighbor's house. It's important to remember that the sidewalk was very old and in bad shape. Still to this day, people are asking the city to fix it. This story is about that neighbor, Karen. She was an older lady. Everyone suspected that she really didn't have anything better to do than gather gossip and disturb everyone trying to rule the street. Everyone was commenting that if you wanted to get the whole area to know something, you had to tell her that message as a secret. Whenever someone came to visit us, they usually parked their car in front of our property. But on bigger meetups like barbecues or parties, people would park in front of our closest neighbors' houses too. That never was a problem. No gates were obstructed, and no one was disturbed. Well, almost. Karen hated when someone parked in front of her house. She would always run out yelling about how we desired to park our filthy cars on her precious sidewalk. My mother's not someone that lets someone yell at her. She had many discussions with Karen about the laws and rules that stated that she doesn't own anything outside her fence, which means that the sidewalk is public and anyone can park on it as long as they leave enough space for a wheelchair to pass. That wasn't enough. Every time someone would come to us and park their car there, the yelling would start. Until one time when my mother's friend Tomek came for a coffee during winter. He's a local policeman, and his specialty is road law, so my mother tells him about Karen and her behavior regarding the sidewalk. Tomek laughs since that thing was in such bad shape that it can barely even be called a sidewalk. When he was leaving, he assured my mom that he would step by next day for a coffee on his lunch break. Next day comes by and I was playing with my brother in the snow. We see a black car pulling over in front of Karen's house, and as the driver gets out, Karen storms out of her house yelling, "Kay, you can't park here. This is my sidewalk. Get your filthy car off my prop." Well, there he was, Tomek with his full uniform, hat and all, turning around towards Karen as comically as he could. T, excuse me, you tell me that I can't park my car here? K, yes. T, but this is a sidewalk open to the public. K, yes, this is my sidewalk. T, so let me get this right. This is your sidewalk? K, yes. T, and you are the one responsible for taking care of it? K, proudly, well, yes, I am. That's why I don't allow anyone to park here. T, oh, that's so nice that I found you. Since it's your sidewalk, you're responsible for clearing the snow from it, to not create danger for the people walking on it. Since it was not plowed, I need to write you a fine for endangering public safety, he says as he pulls out his note block. K, but no other sidewalks are plowed. T, oh, it doesn't matter. The other sidewalks belong to the city. The clearing crew is working on cleaning them. But since this sidewalk is yours, it's your responsibility. K, but I'm old. I can't shovel the snow. T, then you need to hire someone to do that. Of course, if this sidewalk happened to be a public property. K, yes, it's not mine. T, but a moment ago you were yelling at me that it was. So what is it? Is it yours or not? Because I don't know if I should fine you now. K, no, it's not mine. T, all right, seems like we cleared that up. Now, if you ever harass anyone like you did with me, it could result in a fine. So I recommend you watching out on what you claim to be yours. And then he proceeded to cross the street and enjoy a coffee in our house. Karen never disturbed anyone for parking in front of her house again. She would only stare at people trying to burn holes in their skull with her sight. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a nice day.